why you probably shouldn't smoke weed. Yo, what's the vibe, guys? Today we're doing a video comparison of basically all the things weed may be good for and all the things weed may be bad for, right? Most of the things I'll be speaking about is from my own personal experience, really, but also I'm going to include like some of these things are actually related to scientific fact also, of course. So first I'm gonna give like a history of like me as a stoner. I've been smoking weed for almost 2 years, a year and like maybe 10-11 months or some 10 months, I don't know, like a year and like a good amount of months now. I've smoked weed. I'd say I'm a heavy user. I was almost a day. I'm a daily. I'd say I'm a daily smoker. Obviously, there are days I skip, but I'm a daily smoker, with the exception of maybe a tolerance break, or maybe I can't get to marijuana, like when I'm in England and stuff like that. So those kind of things will like stop me from smoking weed. But once I have weed available, I'm usually smoking weed. In general, people who speak about marijuana, they're either going to be on the yes, marijuana is a good thing side, or no, marijuana is the devil's lettuce side. And I find that there is a line in between both sections that I believe is the most appropriate way to class marijuana as a drug or as a substance overall, a plant, whatever you want to call it. So most of the people who actually believe that smoking marijuana is a bad thing, you're going to realize that they probably know someone who smokes weed destructively. Whereas a lot of the people who will tell you that weed is a good thing, they're most likely constructive smokers. So they smoke weed, but they still get what they need to done throughout the day. And I think it all comes down to moderation, and moderation comes down to you as a person also, so what you can handle, right? So I'm gonna start off by speaking about the cons of smoking weed, so all the bad stuff. So the first half of the video will focus on all the cons of smoking weed, and then the next half will focus on all the pros of smoking weed, right? So the cons, and all of these are from my personal experience also, remember. So one thing I realized while I was smoking weed, like when I initially started smoking weed, it wasn't for any real purpose outside of curiosity and the fact that I've always wanted to try it. I was experienced with edibles before, but of course, you know, edibles are a bit stronger and can give a far different experience from what the smoking one does. So I only started smoking marijuana since I started university in Jamaica, and essentially at first I was smoking maybe just for curiosity, so I would say it was mostly for constructive reasons. But after a while I had become depressed, and I was smoking as a way to get around my depression and those kind of things, and that only led to a downward spiral, because when you're smoking weed and you're depressed, you're just masking the depression. You're not actually trying to deal with the problem. You're just trying to like be happy and enjoy your music and enjoy your company of other smokers. And we'll talk about all of those kind of stuff, like your company and what that kind of does and those kind of things. If you're predisposed, I think I'll put up some links in the description or something, but I think if you're predisposed to certain mental illnesses, marijuana actually helps enhance these mental illnesses. So for example, if you're a person who's like depressed and you're susceptible to becoming depressed and those kind of things, by smoking weed you won't be helping your depression, you'll only making it worse. Same thing for persons with psychosis, which is like when you're going psychotic, so when you're a psycho basically, and you have marijuana itself kind of gives you a disconnect from the reality you're in, and that is exactly what psychosis basically is. So if you're already susceptible to psychosis, then by smoking marijuana you're only aiding this kind of thing to come from wherever it is inside of your brain to come to the forefront. So you're more likely to become psychotic and have psychotic episodes and stuff like that. See, like it's the same thing with like schizophrenia is like, I think, like long-term psychosis or something like that. So yeah. um the next con I want to speak about is that is addiction, but even more so than addiction is like dependencies, because there's no real addictive substance in marijuana itself, but you can become dependent, and I myself had been dependent on marijuana. And when I speak on dependencies, I mean you feel with it. Alright, so what it can mess up because of dependencies is your sleeping pattern. So let's say you smoke weed in the middle of the day and you're high to the moon, you're probably going to want to more likely sleep than actually get on throughout the day, especially if you're like sky high, and that can mess with your sleeping pattern. Like you may be able to tank it, continue throughout the day, etc., but just smoking more weed throughout the day and stuff like that, you smoke weed middle day, you smoke weed at the end of the day, all of these are going to make you more like, you're going to get more tired basically, and it can mess up your sleeping pattern if you're not careful. But that's not like a big deal, to be honest. You can always correct your sleeping pattern. Another thing it can mess up is like your eating habits. You can, so because you guys know about the munchies, I'm sure, and like when you get munchies, you just eat whatever is like available to you, and maybe you're on a diet, maybe you're not, but if you're on a diet, I definitely tell you to avoid weed, because you're not going to be able to stay on that diet while smoking weed on a day-to-day basis. I think when it comes to weed, it all does come down to moderation, and I think that's what it comes down to with most things in life. But yeah, back to like your eating habits, you can, if you like, for example, let's say you've eaten 4 meals for the day and then you smoke a joint, you're going to eat a 5th meal. It's like neither here nor there. Munchies bounce you and you're going to eat a meal. I, as a person, differently, like when I realized my eating habits were kind of going off tangent, I literally started smoking and not eating on purpose, waiting until I sobered up and then started eating. Kind of crazy when you think about it, because you actually feel hungry and you feel like you're gonna die sometimes, but I'd just drink water and be like, yo, I'm good, this is just munchies holding me, I'm not dying for real or anything like that. Another thing what dependencies can do, like when you're smoking weed on a daily basis, is that you can start doing the same things every day, and it becomes like deja vu. It becomes almost like a new life cycle. Like this is your new life. So let's say you're a person who smokes every day. You're going to wake up, you're going to smoke, you're going to eat breakfast as munchies, then you do whatever you need to do in the morning, then you're going to smoke weed at midday, eat lunch, do whatever you do in the day, smoke weed in the night, eat your munchies in the night, and then you're going to do whatever you need to do for the night, which will most likely be listening to music and sleeping or whatever, because if you're a constructive stoner, you would have done things throughout your day most likely and just left your night time to do whatever. And essentially, just because you're smoking, it's going to lead you to eat right after you smoke and do whatever you would usually do right after you smoke. So just because you're smoking weed, you literally start doing the same things every day without trying. Like I remember being stuck in a cycle, and it wasn't until I started losing track of the dates when I started to say, hold on a second, I did the exact same thing yesterday and the day before. That's why I'm losing an idea of what day of the week it is. And honestly, the only way to correct that is to just smoke less weed and stop being and smoking 3-4 joints a day. It's not necessary. It's really not. Ask yourself why you're doing it. You can't ask yourself, no matter what you do, you will never find a decent answer. So, alright, withdrawal symptoms. So let's say you're already a person smoking 3 to 4 joints a day, and you've already developed a dependency. Things that you're going to experience because of your dependency. I experienced 3 main ones. 1, my eating habits. Like I couldn't find my appetite anymore. Like because you're no longer getting that munchies feeling, and you're no longer getting that insane hunger, and the food no longer tastes that much better, you somehow lose your appetite because the whole experience of eating is just not as enjoyable for you. The second thing is your sleeping habits can like literally go off hinges. Like you literally be trying to fall asleep and you're getting like some really vivid nightmares or some vivid dreams. Like they don't have to be nightmares, but you can just like the dreams, because I think there's some research, I'll try to find the link on it, that shows that when you smoke weed, you dream less or none at all or something. Like if you smoke if you go to bed high and stuff, you like dream less. So when you stop, so like if you're a person who usually smokes right before bed, when you stop smoking, you realize you start getting some really vivid dreams, nightmares and stuff like that, and you'll be waking up middle of the night wondering what the is going on. Like, I remember there was a time when I went over to Florida from Jamaica, and I literally couldn't fall asleep for like 4 hours. I just literally laid down with my eyes closed, and if I fell asleep, I'd have a dream, wake up, and I would check the time, and it was like just 5 minutes had passed, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And the dreams got so bad. Like, they were just normal dreams at first, because I've actually found a way to control my nightmares, but I literally started getting nightmares again, and I just had to get up and do something else because I couldn't handle it. The last withdrawal symptom I experienced, oh, you're going to feel agitated. So let's say you're a person who, like, because if you usually suffered from anxiety, obviously when you stopped smoking weed, you were very dependent on using it to escape your anxious feeling. So now that same anxious feeling is going to come back tenfold. And the reality of the situation is, if you never used marijuana to mask this anxiety, you would have been able to simply just try to be normal throughout the day. You would have had no form of substance helping you with it, so you yourself would be able to mentally like go through with it, if you get what I mean. But that's only if you're like able to get through it, of course. You're gonna get like mild phlegm, coughs usually in the mornings. Like, if you smoke weed throughout the day and you wake up in the morning to like cough like 4 times and spit some phlegm out, and you don't really cough again. But that's just something I've recognized with myself. I don't know if it's other people, but yeah, that shit used to happen to me. And the last thing is that I'm just going to say that overall, marijuana, like the last one I'm going to mention is that marijuana is a drug that I'd say is really not going to affect your physical body per se, but I think what it really can affect if you're not careful and you're not using it in moderation is your mentality, right? So just keep that in mind. Now we're going to go to the pros of smoking weed. Whew, the pros. Whew, hold on. Just a normal cigarette, guys. Just a normal cigarette. Don't smoke cigarettes though. That's nicotine's not good. Cool beans. Pros of smoking weed. Well, obviously y'all know about the medical benefits of weed. Helps with a lot of epileptic patients, helps with a lot of pains, helps with a lot of persons with insomnia can sleep better. Like, if you're already a person what lies down in bed for 4 hours and can't fall asleep, weed will help you to fall asleep. If you're a person who's not eating enough throughout the day, weed can help you to eat more. Let's say you're eating only 2 meals a day, you want to gain weight, smoke a spliff in the last part of the day, you'll eat the 3rd meal no matter what. If you have anxiety, obviously helps with that. Personally, one ailment I had, what marijuana has really helped with, was my asthma. Shout out to marijuana for helping out with my asthma. A part of, like, my asthma was one of the biggest reasons as to why I didn't start smoking weed earlier. As I said, I was experienced with edibles starting like when I was 15. I had like my first brownie, and then I had some gummies the next year. I used to do it on 420 just because of the culture. I was kind of like that kind of kid. I was all like 420 blazing, but I never really understood what marijuana was really about in and itself. I just used to do it for the LOLs, to be honest, but I always knew there was a deeper meaning behind it, low-key. I just never really did the research myself, and I always told myself that no matter what you do, getting smoke into your lungs when you have asthma can't be a good thing, you get me? But there is research showing that cannabis is like something that is like anti-inflammatory. So asthma is an inflammation of I'm not sure if I think it's your trachea. I think it's your trachea. So by smoking weed, it actually, even though you're getting smoke into your lungs and stuff, it's actually somehow making sure that your trachea isn't as inflamed, I guess, so you have less asthmatic symptoms. As I said, you still get that dry cough and shit, so maybe that's not, maybe your lungs fucking up, maybe your trachea is all of a sudden good and your lungs are now being fucked up. I don't really know the details. I'm not a scientist by any means, but yeah. I'm gonna tell you that it's a good social drug for sure. I'd say it's much better than alcohol. I don't know how much times have you hear someone get drunk and like they text the ex, or they get into a fight, they do something they're not supposed to do. High people, they just sit around and have a good time. They really do. I really do believe it's a better social drug than most things. You kill anxiety, so you're more likely to actually socialize with the person beside you. Us as millennials, we're really caught into our phones nowadays. We really need, oh, I'll try to bleep out that. But we're really caught into our phones, and basically we really need to get a hold of it all and really do like experience humans for what we are, humans face to face in reality. And I think like even like the use of our phones is kind of a disconnect from reality in a way. We kind of like try to sit behind all the likes and stuff and the comments and try to make ourselves feel better or worse through social media, when they're literally just numbers on a page, and they literally, you can be like having 0 followers on Instagram and still be the most popular person at your high school. Just like how you can have a person who's super popular on Instagram and hated among all their friends and stuff like that. So that's why I think we need to have a more of a focus on ourselves and bettering and having more self-improvement and bettering ourselves than actually like living on our phones basically. And I think marijuana actually does help with that, because once I started smoking weed, I actually started using my phone less. For like, I stopped caring about social media as much. I actually started using social media more, but I stopped caring about what people thought while I posted on social media. Oh, obviously in the socials also, the music is gonna be that much crazier, the food is gonna be that much better, the drinks will taste that much better. It's just a really good experience, to be honest, for like social gatherings. The next pro I'll tell you is that it's less destructive than most other things that you're doing, which is maybe not necessarily a pro, but just to let you know, it's way less destructive than cigarettes to your physical body. I mean, it's way less destructive than cigarettes, than alcohol, than sugar, than meat, than so much different things. And honestly, I'd put links for all of this, but like that's going to be like a entire, I'll probably put like video links maybe explaining what I'm trying to say. But basically, marijuana has a negligible effect on your human physical body, like outside of your lungs. I guess it literally has basically no effect on your physical body. Like, you won't get cancer. It's actually anti-carcinogenic and shit. The last pro I'm going to tell you is the one thing most non-stoners won't know about as an advantage to people who smoke weed. But I find that persons who smoke weed are have gone through a process of almost self-realization. Like, they know what they want to do with their life. And I found that with myself personally, it was only after I started smoking weed I realized that the course I was doing was not the course I wanted to be doing. And that alone, I'd already completed a year, and that alone was kind of messing with my mentality, like aiding with my depression, because I was going through other stuff at the time also, what I won't get into right now. But basically, all of this, like, when you smoke weed, you almost kind of like think about things more, and you can have like self-realizations or like some epiphanies where you suddenly realize that you want to do something and you'll just do it. And I think that's the main reason why I continue to smoke weed, because I have self-realizations all the time now. Like, I have ideas all the time now. I think it's a substance that really does make you more creative when you're using it constructively instead of destructively. I find that most musicians use it when they're creating their music. I find that most artists do it, most chefs. I just feel like it's a very, like, it connects to it. I think it plays with maybe the logic part of your brain, but I'm almost sure like it helps with like the art part of your brain. I know some people say the left side and the right side. Usually I think that's way too simplified, so I don't really use that usually. But yeah, and I guess I'm just gonna finish this for the last part of the video, my cigarette. So that's the video, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and if you watch till the end, like if you're listening to my voice right now, I want you to leave a comment saying if you think weed is bad or good. You see me? Peace out, or bye, or whatever people say at the end of videos.